to New York. It was just, it's humbling. But I'm not the kind of person that's like a wallflower. Like, I will go if I want something. I want to go do it. So
Hey,
I will ask you to dance, like, and there was um, no sheet that was like, okay, if you want to do this, these are these schools to go to. So I feel
mm,
like it was especially in New York at the time, it was kind of
hey. All right. So I am now on the line with a Mr. Alex Morel and a Miss Desiree Godsell, who are dance instructors, performers, as well as judges. I believe you both are more so widely known for your traditional bachata. Is that correct?
Yeah, you could say that.
Mhm.
All right, so I'm not mistaken. Alex, you were born in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, but you were raised in Paterson, New Jersey, correct?
Yes, that's right.
And Desiree, you were born in Houston, Texas, but you went to school in Philadelphia.
Mhm.
Sure enough, sure enough, sure enough. I'm very curious to hear, how you all doing today.
Superb.
We're doing great.
Blessed.
Where you guys at right now? New Jersey or?
Yeah, we're in Jersey.
Okay, okay,
We're
okay.
currently at Caribbean Soul Dance Studio
In Jersey
Mhm.
in
City.
Jersey City.
Is that where y'all practice at, or like what brings y'all there?
This is the studio that Alex started at. It's close to my house. It's not so far from him, but
Okay.
this is the studio where we first got together.
Okay, okay. If I'm not mistaken, so yeah, you both have, incredible track record. Seriously, but Desiree, I think you like your track record. I'm not trying to diss you, Alex, but Desiree, your your resume is on like 100 right now.
Really? Because
You
I'm looking, I'm
serious?
like, oh, I don't know, I don't know. I'm saying, it's an interesting path. Everybody has their own unique pathway to different things, and right, it's the journey. So it's
Right.
been an interesting journey.
Okay. So yeah, we'll get into all that. I'm very curious to hear from both of you all. I would love to hear about, your childhood in Houston as well as, your childhood in DR. Could y'all tell me about that?
Well, my childhood is in DR is really short because I came here when I was really young. My parents migrated to the USA when I was about, I think I was like, my mom gave birth to me, and then right after she came to the United States. So I was in DR for only like 2 or 3 years before I arrived to the US. So most of my life I was raised here in Paterson.
Okay, I'm curious, man. Can you tell me, you know, I guess it might be an obvious answer, but what made your parents leave the DR, man? Was it just, a better opportunity or?
Yeah, I think it was a. I think it's the immigrant dream. I guess is like to come to the U.S. for a better life. And I'm one of seven, so there was a lot of
Okay.
mouths to feed. And my dad actually first went to Puerto Rico first, and he made his way over to New Jersey, and then from here he was able to request my mom to come. And then back in those days, the laws were a little bit different, and it was a little easier. So he was able to ask for all of his kids, all seven of us at once. So we all kind of came here together.
That's awesome,
That
man.
was like in '83 or '84.
Okay, okay, that's awesome, man. I'm curious to hear, man. I guess I don't know if you remember this, but what was your transition like coming to America, man? How was that for you?
I think I had an easier transition just because I was so young. My brothers and sisters who came here when they were in their teens, the language barrier at first was a little tough because they didn't speak
Of
English.
course.
And in Republic, the English they teach you in school isn't really as strong or doesn't really prepare you for everyday life here in the US. But for me, it was quite easy because I grew up speaking both English and Spanish. So I didn't have those types of problems. I think being a minority in general in the U.S. is always it's just always interesting if you're different for
Of
whatever reason.
course.
I struggled through
immigrant and a minority.
an immigrant and a
Hey,
minority.
right.
The fact that I was always a bigger kid, so I used to get picked on a lot for my weight, my appearance, and also just cultural differences. Like in conversation, that I was raised. I mean, this is one thing I like about the way that I was raised. It was like the culture was very present at home. So besides the language, the foods we ate, just the things we did during holidays and different traditions. So sometimes in conversation, when I would have talks with like teachers or with friends, they'd be like, wait a minute, we don't do that here. And it was, for me, it was like, I always felt like a little bit different because of that. But with time, I just kind of got used to the American culture and just with time learned to accept that, you know, I'm a Dominican American. So I have
Right.
Dominican side and also my American side. So
Okay, I understand that, man. I want to ask you this, man. Going back to I guess your childhood, man. How important was music in your household?
I think music was really important. I always make jokes that when I hear songs from Ana Gabriel or all of these like Mexican pop stars, it reminds me of when my sister would play it really loud on Saturday mornings to clean the house. So I always like, I think that and anything that we did, there was always music present, whether we were working, whether we were at family gatherings, holidays. Um, I remember growing up, we had a lot of house parties. So there was always a celebration, whether it was to celebrate a birthday, an anniversary, someone graduated school, someone from Dominican Republic came to visit. So there were always two things that were very present was food, obviously, and music. My father used to listen to a lot of merengue típico.
Ah,
So I kind of relate to that music a lot because it connects me a lot with my dad. Having
yeah.
family members that enjoy just listening to different types of music here in the States. I was more into pop, reggae, and hip hop and things like that.
Okay.
And it wasn't
Yeah.
until later on that then I started growing more of appreciation for my culture in general, to the foods that I was eating. I was
I think I'm more similar to Desiree in the fact that I grew up in America, and like it might just be me, but I didn't really grow up dancing, man. So I'm curious, was I imagine dancing was more so a part of the like your culture. So is that something that always went with the music? Did you grow up dancing, or like is that something that you got into later in life?
for me or for desert for me.
For you.
There was always dancing around. It is a big part of our culture. I think in general, I'm always surprised when I see like Latinos, well, speaking for Dominicans, um, when they tell me they don't dance or they didn't really grow up around it, because for me it was always present. I don't think we're much into the culture of taking lessons to learn how
Okay.
to dance.
Right.
It's
It's
something that
like
we do.
it's imitation, right? You kind of learn from what you see.
Yeah, learning through osmosis, I guess. So we having the music playing constantly and having like watching my parents dance, watching my cousins and my older siblings, you kind of just pick it up. And it wasn't until later on that I wanted to actually take dancing more seriously. Actually, to way later on,
Okay.
probably like my late teens is when I really got
Oh,
into dancing.
yeah, okay. So enough. And I guess I want to ask you, Desiree. I was actually recently in Houston, man, for a weekend. Thoroughly enjoyed it. But I've never really lived there, never really been to Texas. I'm very curious to hear about your childhood growing up in Houston.
Well, I think I had a really awesome childhood. My mother, shout out to all the single moms out there holding it down. You know, now being a mother, I can really look back and just be so much more
Of
appreciative of
course.
all of my mother's efforts and all of the things that she did to provide for me and my sister, and like all of the extra miles that she went to put us in dance, put us in gymnastics, put us in Girl Scouts, put us in horseback riding lessons, put us in camps, and like all of these things to really kind of like have that much more of an enriched childhood.
Right.
Um, Houston's really great. It's economically friendly for every family out there. I mean, there's space and opportunities. So there's a lot of land. And yeah, it's a really good childhood. I didn't have to like really worry about a lot of things, and I was able to be a kid, so, which is really great. And like Alex, you know, we're not Dominican, but my mom loves to dance. I think she totally would have been a dancer if she was, she was given the opportunity.
Right.
And it was like my house. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think because it was a different pressure, different mindset with my brother to my mother. And so I think because my mom didn't feel like she had the opportunity to be a dancer, she was like, whatever you want to do, as long as you pursue it and go like full throttle and give it 100%. And so I guess that's what I did. My mom growing up in my house was kind of like growing up in like the middle of the dance circle. She was always like, go Desiree, go Desiree, go. So then if you're always getting that go, you're like, okay, I'm in the circle. Watch me. Mom, are you looking? Mom, I'm doing my move. So, and then plus being in like dance class. So yeah, it was around everywhere. And then we were really like surrounded by a lot of different cultures. And
I say you were in Texas, so I know it's like a big Spanish culture, right?
Yeah, my grandmother is well, I'm mixed. I have like Mexican blood. Well, first of all, if you live in Texas, like, there's some kind of Tejano blood that you have in you some kind of way. But my grandmother's family is from Mexico, and then I have some Italian blood, and then my dad's side of the family is from Louisiana. And so that's like Creole side. Hot sauce in my bag swag. And yeah, so and then they dance Zydeco.
I know Zydeco, definitely. Yeah, I know Zydeco.
Yeah. These kind of rhythms and like that kind of cadence and partner dance is like very, very similar to, yeah, it's very similar to like bachata or merengue or something like that. So I was presented with those kind of rhythms when I was in high school. It wasn't really difficult for me to like pick those kind of, I think it's more so like what like prepared me was just the kind of like spirit and attitude and kind of like towards dance versus like just the steps.
No,
you can have the steps and live with the steps for a long time, but if you don't have like the spirit that comes through,
different.
It takes a little bit longer. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things like with why it may be important to teach like the culture of a dance and not just the steps. I want to ask you, Desiree. I don't want to get too deep on you, man, but now that you're an adult, looking back on your childhood, how do you think growing up in a single parent household, how did that affect your your growing up process?
Well, it's kind of like you don't know what you don't know. So like I don't know any other way than that. And like I said, then my mom and my dad, and thankfully I was able to grow up with my grandmother as well, who was super supportive and influential in my life. So I feel like I didn't ever want for anything, but I'm sure that's affected me in my personal relationships. And I don't know about the psychology with that, but in terms of like dance, I know that my mom did the best to kind of keep us engaged and busy. So we were constantly like doing things. So I didn't really have time to kind of dwell in like the woe is me.
Right.
Yeah.
I understand that. I definitely understand. Hey guys, if you could leave a like and subscribe and share this with the people, that would mean the world to me and my channel. I really would appreciate that. But let's just jump right back into this episode. I understand that. I definitely understand that. So I want to ask you, Alex, man. Growing up in New Jersey and everything, man. I'm curious, what were some of your hobbies, growing up, man?
Um, I spent a lot of time at first watching a lot of TV, just like every little kid.
Right,
So
of course.
I watched a lot of TV, a lot of music videos, and I also got into writing a lot. I used to write a lot when I was younger, short stories and poetry. Um, I was a little bit of a bookworm back then too, because I also used to spend a lot of time just reading books, writing, and also just spending a lot of time with my family. I think that's why also some of my happiest moments I think are just whenever I'm around my family, because I've always had that as part of like my daily, my weekly routines is to spend quality time with either my mom or my brothers and sisters, because there's so many of us. We've always been together, whether it's with just my brothers or just my sisters. Um, and then also spending a lot of time with my mom and watching her cook. So I think that's where I get I also like to be in the kitchen a lot, because I always connect her cooking and being in the kitchen with like, the sisters being, having
Yeah.
conversations. And so,
I wanted to ask you. I wanted to ask you, Alex. Are both your parents from DR?
yes.
Okay. So, and I gotta ask you about that, man. What was it like growing up in that household, man? I'm African American, so I can tell you about that. But what was it like growing up with parents from the Dominican Republic?
Um, I mean, I don't have a basis to compare to, because that's all I know. So I don't know how much different it is from like how Americans are raised. One thing I do know is that, like I said, the cultures and traditions were always very present. So back with like my cousins and my family members, they're surprised that we were raised so much the way that they were raised, because they figured because I was raised in the U.S. I would be like more American. But the fact that again we ate the same dishes, not necessarily like pancakes, scrambled eggs. My parents, they didn't speak. They never got to learn the language. They were working a lot. My dad my mom used to work two jobs, cooking. So there was always like, there wasn't a lot of time for them to do anything else other than work and just cook food on the table.
Okay.
So for us, it was like we had no choice but to speak Spanish with them.
I want to
And
ask you, Desiree. So you grew up dancing and everything. I'm curious. What happens after you graduate high school? Like, do you decide to go, all in with dancing, or do you, go to like business, or I think you have an artist degree if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so I went to my whole life I've been dancing. So I went to middle school for dance. I went to high school for dance, and then really, not to say that I have a one track mind, but it's like I really stay very present normally in my life. So there was kind of nothing. I was like, this is what I want to do. This is
That's
what
awesome though.
I like to do. And so I just continued to pursue it. So um, I went to, and that's not to say that not everybody needs to go to college to pursue dance, like not at all. But my high school was very instrumental in promoting college for artists.
Mm.
And my mom also wanted me to go to college. And I think we're both the first in our, like out of our
And the family to
our,
go.
our parents. No. Like you graduated college, your parents didn't graduate.
right.
I graduated college, my mom didn't graduate
Mhm.
college. So I think that was very important for them to be
Of
like, you gotta go college.
course.
Right.
You know,
Well, I told
um,
my like that I'm gonna give them their degree and then I'm gonna go dance.
yeah. So, but that was later on.
Yeah.
Yeah. But for me, right away, and my mom was super supportive. Like I said before, she was like, if you're gonna do this, you just gotta, like really do it.
Yeah.
And so I went to the University of the Arts in Philadelphia, and I graduated with Bachelor of Fine Arts.
I think that's really, I want to say it's kind of like a blessing, that you found your true passion at such an early age.
Well, I also attribute that to my mom for discovering my talents. Like when you see that your kid at 3 is like moving all around, just like dancing to the songs, and you just like have entertainment for you and your friends all night long for your kids is dancing. You're like, maybe my kid should I should put my kid in dance class.
And
And then when they thrive in that, like don't take them out, keep them there.
yeah,
And
well,
that's kind of what my mom did. And then also she's the reason why I've been dancing Latin dance, because when I was in high school, actually like middle, she she's the one that like she would no actually it was high school. She would take me to like the clubs and
hey,
let me social dance and then bring me back home. Like
okay.
she also enjoyed it, but she was like, I know that my kid loves to do this. So I mean, I was like the only kid up in that
I
social
think,
dancing. But I mean, she's the one that exposed me to it. I mean, I'm super grateful
yeah.
because not at my university and not at my high school they exposed me to Latin dance.
Fine. No, I just want to say like that's really wonderful that instead of like hampering your passion, she more so encouraged it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
well, I want to ask you this. I'm curious. Since you're a parent now, what things, like, what are you gonna do for your daughter? Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know if you have a daughter. I'm my fault. I apologize.
it's okay. What things will I do for him? I mean, I want to do the same things. I want to see what I want to expose him to everything, see what he's into, see what he gravitates towards, see where his natural talents lie, and really like encourage those and do my best to find resources and experiences to help him, you know.
Yeah, of
I
course, and I
think
definitely understand that.
it's really awesome that I have this my career now, that I'm able to travel so many different places and meet so many different people. So, um, my son will be able to see the world at a very young
Yeah,
age.
that's so awesome. That's so
Yeah,
awesome. So I'm curious for you, Alex. You get out of high school, man. I'm curious. What happens for you, sir? You went to
Um,
college.
After high school, yeah, around high school, probably junior senior year is where I started getting more into my Latin culture, because when I was growing up, I grew up around a lot of Americans, uh, and it wasn't until later on, like in high school, where I was hanging around more Latinos, kids that were my age that were also into salsa, merengue, bachata. I have a niece that came from Dominican Republic, and I met her at an age where I think at the time she must have been like 16. I must have been like 14 or 15. And I started, every time we would go to house parties, she would always want to dance with me. So everyone kind of put two and two together and was like, okay, they're definitely dance partners. She would teach me all of the merengue moves and the salsa basics and bachata. So I got more into it. And then when I went to college, I found myself not being able to do anything without listening to salsa, to bachata, to merengue.
Okay.
So some of my biggest inspirations were this group DLG, Dark Light and Groove,
Yeah, I know
because
them.
they
I
had a
know
little
them.
bit of fusion of
Yeah, they're
salsa
very
and hip
popular.
hop, and I like that. And and so when I went to college, I was able to.
So what'd you major in?
Oh, so in college, I went to school for computer science,
Oh,
and
okay.
I got a minor in business management. And that in college is, I think, where I got more exposed to the type of dancing I wanted to do, because around that time was when I started going to clubs way before I was 20. I remember back then there was like the spot to go to get a fake ID to be able to get into these clubs. And back then I looked a lot older than I really was. I had a long beard when I was 15, right? So it was no problem. That's how I kind of got inspired going to clubs and watching people social dance. And to this day, really what inspires me is to watch people dance with a lot of heart connection. But that's really what I like about dance is the opportunity to express yourself freely and kind of like in the spur of the moment. Like that's something that I find beautiful in social dancing is that you don't really know what you're doing when you get on the dance floor. You just feel the music and just let your body go.
Yeah, I wanna ask you this, Alex. Going back to, I guess when you first got into dancing, I want to first ask, I want to hear about your beginner stage in it, but I want to also know, man, I guess were were you not interested in it, in your youth? Was it kind of like your rebellion phase, or were you just, focused on different things?
Uh, Believe it or not, actually, a lot of people don't believe this, but there's like a huge part of me that's like really shy. And when I was a little kid, because of like my appearance, my weight, I never liked to have like attention put on me.
Okay.
So I was always more of like, even in my family, I was always like the probably the quietest. Actually, I have a brother that's more quiet than me, but uh, Rob, Rob doesn't talk much. But I was one of like the quiet ones in the family. So it's not that I was rebellious. I was just very by the book. I was very square. So it was like I knew my purpose was to go to school, get good grades, graduate college, and I always had this thing about doing the right thing and making my parents happy. So I was never really thinking about anything else other than my school and just being like a good son. So I didn't have really a phase of like rebellion. I just wasn't really that much into Latin music because being raised in the States, as a child, what you find cool is like Michael Jackson,
Yeah.
Missy Elliott, Sean Paul. That's what I like.
Yeah.
But more because I like the music. At first, it wasn't really about the dance. I just like listening to the music. And then it wasn't until I met my niece and I used to see how much fun she would dance, how much fun she would have dancing. And I said, oh, this is pretty cool. Um, and I think naturally because you're raised in, like you said, the music is always around. You always like watch other people dance. You don't really have to like take dance lessons. You just kind of copy and paste. You start dancing with different people, and they say, "Hey, this is the step," and you start doing it.
Hear from both of you all, tell me about your beginner stage and I guess Latin dancing. What was that like for you?
Um, like I said, when I was in high school, I was first exposed to it, and I mean that's back when like you would see somebody do a double turn, and you're like, "Oh my God, they did two turns!" And but it was really like the people that I gravitate towards. With it, I mean, uh, yeah, it wasn't that technical, but it was just so much flavor happening, and you could see that people had so much freedom in what they were doing. And I think like when I moved to Philly, I would go out like later on when I like my senior year. I got really into it and inspired. And a lot of people were going back and forth to New York. And I was already my had to learn to dance on two. So like taking weekend trips to New York and going to Jimmy's and like going to Paterson. Then when I moved to New York, it was just it's humbling. But I'm not the kind of person that's like a wallflower. Like I will go if I want something, I want to go do it. So
Hey.
I will ask you to dance and there was no sheet that was like, okay, if you want to do this, these are these schools to go to. So I feel
Mm.
like it was especially in New York at the time, it was kind of like everybody had their clique, not their
Right,
clique,
of
their school,
course.
their school. And if you didn't know about the schools, you just came in, you were just like, okay, well, So I never really took classes like that. I was just really like learning by social dancing.
Mm. I
So that's kind of how I picked up.
Now I get it. I'm
But
curious.
if I would have taken class, I feel like I could have learned a lot faster.
Of course, of course, of course.
I think like Desiree hit it on the nose when she said that you it's like more like you get inspired by like the flavor and the just kind of the feeling, because I feel like I had the interest and the heart and the passion for it way before I knew how to really dance, before I had the moves and the steps. So I was like growing up with the music, and in high school and college being around all these people that were also listening to the music. I was, I already loved it before I even started dancing. It wasn't until I had a friend of mine in college who told me about this dance couple that she worked with, and she said they would come to the college and give us a salsa lesson. It was like a free lesson for college students, and I started. So I took the lesson. I didn't really like the way they danced, and so that initially kind of discouraged me a bit from really learning how to dance salsa, until I started going back to these clubs and I started seeing more and more people dancing more of the way that I like. A lot of fast footwork, a lot of complicated turn patterns. And so I figured, okay, once I graduate college, I'm just gonna look for a school that can show me the steps, and then maybe I can put my own kind of flavor to it.
Right.
And so when I graduated college, this was like, before YouTube and all of that. I didn't have any like videos to go by like anybody that
Right.
I knew in the
Right.
dance world. So I just looked up a school in New Jersey. There were only like three. It was like Mario B, Ismael Otero, Caribbean. So, and I went on to I think it was SalsaNewYork.com, that website that kind of posted like dance struggles and socials in New York. So I went on the page, I looked up the school, and I said, okay, they're in New Jersey, I'm gonna go to them. And that's how I got kind of like, those were like the arrows that pointed to the dance network. Once I came to Caribbean Soul with Ismael Otero, I took my first class, and I stayed there 10 years.
Hey,
Never
hey.
looked back.
Okay. I wanna kind of jump forward if you don't mind.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so I don't know if you heard of this thing. It's called it's called survivorship bias. And it's one of those things where like people who are successful, they'll say like, they'll tell people just follow your dreams. Um, but sometimes it doesn't work out like that. I'm very curious for both of you all because I feel like dancing is a very competitive field. So I'm wondering from both of you all, what what makes you stand out? Like, why are you able to do this full time and maybe someone else might not be able to? Is it just that, you love it so much, or like what sets you apart? Because I imagine everyone would love to become a professional dancer.
Well,
Oh, that's such a good question.
I feel like that that's there's a couple points to that, because people could be following their dreams but not making money, right?
Right, right, right.
Financially independent or supported by what they're doing. Um, and uh, I was already a professional dancer before I started dancing like Latin dance professionally. Um, but it is a very competitive field now, especially today, because everybody feels like they could be a professional dancer. I mean, I have lots to say about this, but maybe I'll let Alex go first, because I really feel like there's a difference between being an artist and being
A successful artist.
well,
Of
being an
course.
artist in general, and then being like having talent and skill, or in just one uh, genre. Um, and then the difference between being a choreographer and all of these different things. I mean, I feel like the verbiage that people are using today is like way off and way skewed. But being a professional dancer, you have to. It's not just about having the talent. You have to. It's a lot of hard work. It's a
Right.
lot of. You've got to be on your business game, and your follow through, and you just have to have a product that people want.
Right, right,
And
right.
doing the same thing that everybody else is doing, why do you think that no one's hiring you? I mean, because you look just like everybody else.
Okay.
That's one thing. The other thing is that a lot of people, like I said, don't have the follow through, and they're not business savvy. Marketing in 2019 is everything.
Oh my goodness, speak on it.
Um, so maybe they're just not, being seen. And yeah, because out of sight, out of mind. Maybe they're not connecting with their own communities. You gotta, I mean, there's like a lot of factors to being a professional dancer in this arena
Of
now.
course.
I'll give you a short answer, and I know it's gonna sound super cliche, but I think when you have the heart and passion for something, and you're really really hungry for it, you figure it out. Because sometimes, I mean, look at well, like Amazon, right? They started selling books, so Amazon, they get the entire world to buy from them, and all they're doing is redirecting and shipping,
Right,
taking
right,
it
right,
where it's
right.
sending here. So I think that it's like if you don't have the passion and the hunger for something, then you might be one, just another one in like a big pool of,
Mm.
a big sea of fish where it's like you're just another dancer or, just another business. But I think if you really have the desire and the passion, you're gonna figure out what is your edge, what sets you apart from everybody else, what type of business are you in, Sometimes people think that they're in the business of just doing choreographies or just providing instruction. And these days, most businesses aren't just focused on one thing. They provide a variety of things. So
Right.
understanding that, I think,
Yeah, understanding
who you are and
Self
what you're
awareness.
offering. But again, I feel like if you don't have the passion and the hunger for it, if you're just in it for the money, I feel like you won't make it really far. That's just my personal
No, I
opinion.
understand. I understand that definitely. I wanna ask you both this, man. I think people love to hear like the origin stories, like the beginning. Yeah, I want to hear it as well. I really want to hear from you all. Where you are today is completely different than where you were when you first started this journey. So I'm very curious to hear, what was that? What were those early stages like? When you were trying to get to where you are now. If you understand what I'm saying.
Well,
You
I think we could talk more so like about like our we just decided to dance together in Caribbean soul. Um and at least for me, it was getting to the point where like people were recognizing us as like two individual dancers or dancer like a couple within company. And we were, Alex is teaching classes. Um and yeah, we were just kind of being known around the world actually. And Alex was at a point in his career, in his professional outside of dance job, that he was willing to like take a break from. And so then yeah, we decided to like make it a full on partnership and just do Alex and Desiree. And we were presented with some challenges and with some people who didn't really believe in us.
okay?
But we knew what we were able to offer. We knew who we were. We knew our talents and we where we wanted to go. In fact, it wasn't that difficult. And there was a lot. There were some people who did see uh, the benefit of us being together and the benefit of us being a couple now.
And so I already knew that there were definitely a lot of things we had to work hard for because we were basically starting from scratch. And I mean, I'm grateful that I think we both have a really big heart, and I think that we both have a lot of passion for what we do, and I think that's helped us carry us through the struggles and the turmoil and the days where you don't really feel like where you don't really feel like you're going any further, but every little step counts kind of thing. So it's managed to work for us.
Yeah.
Then also talking about knowing who we are and what we can do, and knowing the climate of the scene. We're like, okay, so we're going to dance bachata now. Like, this is like what we're gonna focus on, because up until that point, we were really dancing mostly salsa. But
Ah.
that's just knowing supply and demand, what people want. And I guess that's how we broke into the industry really together as a couple is with bachata.
Okay. I'm very curious to hear, man. I want you to maybe tailor this towards some people who want to be where you are right now. In those beginning stages, when you didn't have a lot of promoters or people backing you, people cheering you on, um, what kept you going? What advice could you give to someone who, is on that same journey that you're on?
I would say for me is to embrace the journey, because the great thing about dancing is that I like to do it even outside of when we're at Congress and festivals. Like, I could be off on a weekend and one of the first things I want to go do is dance. So I never really get tired of it. Sometimes we get physically tired with the travels and obviously rehearsing and dancing puts a lot of strain on your body. So physically, but in terms of like not being where you want to be, or because sometimes we focus so much on where we want to be that we're not really present as to like where we are. And I
Right.
think that is such an important part of the growth process, to really embrace each and every day. The struggles are what build character, and I feel that if you lose sight of that, and if you kind of don't really pay attention and aren't present, then you could miss the whole point. And
Well, yeah, like I said, you have to love what you do, because if you don't love dance, you don't need to be dancing, because there's not that much
compared to other industries.
to compare to other industries. So it's like your motivation really has to be that you really love this. But then also it's like focus on the work, do the work, be in the studio, and you continue to put things out. I mean, like, if the world wants you, they'll pick you up.
Yeah. No, I definitely understand that. I really do. Give some value to some dances. So, your specialty is, bachata traditional. I want to hear from you both, from a lead and as a follow. What are some common mistakes that you may see in your classes that that you wish you could fix for leads and follows?
Well, starting off before, I think like we just are kind of bachata artists, and not so much because people put so much emphasis on the traditional, but we dance
Okay.
every.
Well, then please
Um,
correct. I'm sorry. Please correct me.
no. I mean, I guess maybe on the spectrum of bachata, we're more on this side than on the sensual side. But yeah, I just like to put that out there.
Of course, I understand.
But there's a lot of
for
things.
me, the main thing is that I feel like not enough people are focusing on the fundamental, on the
I,
basics.
I always
Because
hear
for
this.
me, it's always that. It's like I could have, 5, 10, 15 dances, and if you're just doing a really solid basic, then I'm gonna be happy. Um, there's too many
With a
people,
good connection.
right? Well, I mean, and
Which is
Like,
basic.
it's
yeah,
like a
that's what I
broken
mean. It's
record.
like everything around the fundamentals, a good connection, being able to follow, being able to lead, being able to just do the basic movements correctly. Because I came from a school where that was so much the focus, that basic is everything. That I translated what I learned from the salsa world into the bachata world, and it's true. It's like, and we hear it all the time from other fellow colleagues at the professional level. They would much rather dance with people who are doing like good basics than trying to do so much extra stuff, and it just looks crazy, feels crazy, and you're just like, what is going on?
Everything in terms of like going to school, and it's like when you're in school, you have to know your ABCs. You have to be
Right,
able to
right.
structure a sentence. But you're out trying to use SAT words in second grade. Like, not everybody can do that, and yeah, people just need to really focus on having a really good understanding of root words and basics, right? So that they can move on from there. Like, first of all, that's you flip the basic with something more advanced. But if you don't know that and you're doing just like all of this crazy stuff that's not even leadable, it just doesn't make sense. So yeah, having a good basic, having a good connection, and having a good awareness. Like, and sometimes this is a social dance, so trying to be just present with the music, right? And a
Right.
lot of people are trying to do like default stuff, and I understand like at a beginning level you're like, okay, I'm just going to do this pattern and do this and do this, but the more advanced you get, that's the what we tell our dancers all the time, the more advanced you get, the more you go up in the ranks with supported in your dance. You need to be able to dance with the music, even at a beginner level. I'm saying,
The
listen to
music
the music.
dictates everything. So yes.
Absolutely. But it's the skill set to be able to move and listen at the same time.
Oh, of course.
So you need to develop that like at a beginner level, not just wait until like finds it all of a sudden at the next level. You know? But really that's like super important. And just in like technically in terms of connection, when girls are like all like this and when guys lead from their arms,
What is that's your fighting? That
people,
was a fight. That was punches.
well, that's what it looks
feels
like and looks
Okay.
like. When people are doing like such exaggerated steps that have
Mm.
no correspondence with the music, like what song are you dancing to? When guys
I
are
wanna.
doing tricks and dips at 3 o'clock in the morning after they've had like drank half Brugal bottle, I mean that's not really working for anybody. And that's how I'm like technically like injured. My shoulder
Oh
hurts right
man.
now from people doing things that are just like they have no awareness,
Come on. I,
you know,
I
and it's sad.
and of course I want to ask you. I don't want to lose this man. You know how can people improve their connection? You know, you spoke on having a better connection, but how does one improve their connection? Please answer.
I think again, it all goes back to listen. I know people have different goals because we were talking about how people. The question was, what's the common mistake that we see within our classes? Me personally, I think that it goes back to learning how to crawl before you run.
Okay,
Right?
right, right,
Some
right.
people are like, tell me, Alex, I want to bachata or salsa instructor in the world, and I want to try. I want to be the best performer. I want to win all these world championships. You know, and for me, but fundamentally what you're doing is you're teaching either people the skill set of dancing, and if you're performing, you're also, it's an exhibition, it's a showcase of good dancing. But how do you develop good dancing in general? How do you learn how to dance? And for me, it goes back to social dancing, because when you social dance, that's where I create my material that I teach. That's where I create the material that I'm going to present on stage. Of course, there's other aspects. If you're on stage, you should also have a good understanding of just general dance technique, for example. But I think in terms of like the actual dance we're dancing, bachata or salsa, all of those things that people are teaching, connection, frame, follow, footwork, musicality,
Hopefully
movement.
they're teaching. Hopefully they're teaching.
Right.
Because a lot of people
Yeah.
are not teaching that, and that's a problem.
That is true.
So how do you build the connection?
But I think that apart from, yes, it's obvious that they have to take classes with instructors that are respected in the scene. But I think it's also practice. Like I learned a lot of things in a classroom, but most of what I learned was on the dance floor, because you have to be.
Oh,
It's like going to
true.
college and never doing homework. If you go to college and sit in a seminar or like a workshop or a class, you can't really digest the information. You're presented the information and you say, okay, here are the formulas. This is what I need. This is how I solve the problems. Then I have to go back home and actually work out the problems
Right.
and really, find where I get stuck. And I gotta buy this formula. I gotta do that. And
Or you
that,
gotta get the lab. Get in the lab and do
get
it.
in the lab and do it. And for me, that's social dancing. So
Absolutely.
all of that
Someone.
connection,
Yeah.
movement, musicality, all that stuff develops social dancing.
If you are social dancing, and because there's a lot of people who've been social dancing 10 years and they don't think that anything's wrong, but we all know that they don't feel that great. So it's all about having the awareness. Maybe if you want to try to improve your connection, ask somebody, hey, does this feel good when I do this? She's like, no, actually, like something feels off. Investigate what feels off. If you're not trying to take a class, right? If you're not trying to go to some instructors who know what they're talking about, then you need to find it for yourself.
The good thing about leading is that even if you didn't ask anybody and the girls that follows not doing what you're trying to make them do, then
That's
then
the
Then it's
feedback.
off.
then it's
That's
off.
instant feedback.
Really, technique is just to support you so that you can get to things that you want to be able to do, right? And do ease and comfort. Okay, so that's what the technique is there to support you through the dance. And with the connection, not everybody has. Maybe Alex is, if he only danced with me, that'd be one type of connection. But Alex has to be able to apply his lead
Yeah.
to several different problems.
Right.
Or that's just like the girl's really short. You have to be able to dance with her, and you have to make adjustments for people. But you have to have that first connection to know how you're interacting and where your energy is at all times.
I think that's a tip also for people who are listening. If your instructors are not talking about connection, the proper technique for connecting, for following, if they're not using words like weight transfers, tension, frame, things like
Right.
that,
Big
that is a red
words.
flag. Because if they're never talking about any of these things, then it's like, how does the person know how to execute the dance?
And maybe like back in the day, people weren't talking about this and that's fine, because a lot of times back in the day, people weren't talking about being lactose intolerant. But now we know that people
Yeah.
can't
Things are
digest
evolving.
milk. So now
Yeah.
if we know these things, we have know better, do better, right? So
Yeah.
now
So
that we
true.
know that there's a more optimum way of doing something, don't we want to know what that is? Don't we want to know how it's going to be easier for you to get through this move?
Right.
You know,
That comes with the
that's
evolution of the dance.
instructors that are going to be able to tell you that.
Mm. No, I definitely understand, and you both said some really good things. Definitely. I
And if you're an instructor, speaking to instructors, if you are not doing any of this stuff, then you need to go and you need to take some classes, some pedagogy classes, and just really kind of filter through your own way of dance to find like, okay, how can I teach my students to be able to do this the same way that I'm doing this?
Speaking of teaching, we have an instructor certification course for those that are intermediate advanced dancers that are interested in teaching, or maybe you have been teaching and you just want to sharpen your skill sets. You want to maybe kind of like a check for yourself. Am I doing all of the things that I think I should be doing? We have a course that we offer. We offer it online, but we also are offering it this month at the BIG Texas Salsa Bachata Festival, and also at the New Jersey Bachata Festival, which is I think the second weekend in October. And people can contact us for more details on that.
Hey, that's a great plug, man. You guys dropped so many things. I kind of got you. I got you guys excited. um, I want to ask you though. It was kind of maybe the last question. I'm very curious to hear, man. What is it like being, having dance as a full-time job? A lot of times people only see the highlights of you teaching and you at socials and dancing. Can you maybe give some insight to people? What is it really like being a professional dancer full-time?
Well, one thing I was just talking about this yesterday is when you might go to like 2 events or one Congress a year, and you're like, whoa, this is my turn up opportunity. Wow, we're so excited. It's like we kind of do this every weekend.
Right.
So it can be very taxing, especially on the body. When you're flying to Japan, to San Francisco, and then going to Mexico, and then going to like that. I mean, it's like the jet lag is really serious. Um, the time spent away from your family is really serious. It's the commitment. And that's part of the job is that you, especially if you're traveling. Now you could be a professional dancer in your hometown and doing things like locally, but we're just speaking on like what we're doing, which is traveling every weekend. And so yeah, it's physical. We were just also talking about this, that we're not so much known for like tricks and dips and stuff like this, but people who do those kinds of things, the the toll on the body is even more so.
Come on,
Because you
yeah.
produce that level of athleticism every uh, weekend, and then actually during the week too, because that's when we're rehearsing.
Exactly.
And yeah,
I think people also don't realize that a lot of times as dancers, you're under a lot of scrutiny. For example, like I told you, I've always been a bigger guy, so like having the appearance of a dancer has always been like a struggle for me. Um, little things like what are they wearing during that workshop demo, or what are they wearing on stage. Those are things sometimes that like you don't really, from the outside looking in, you don't really notice how much people do talk on social media. The way, even the way your family views you, because before I used to have a certain type of lifestyle, and now depending on how strong you are, it can become an emotional toll on you.
Yeah.
Right.
It can be draining.
And then also it's just like we're human, just like everybody else. We have cramps, we have colds, we have injuries, and sometimes, especially for me and Alex, because we love to social dance, so we love being at the socials and the parties and dancing with everybody. But sometimes, like, sweat gets in my eye and my eyelashes falling off, and like someone asks me to dance, and I'm like, I'm sorry, no, and it sucks because it's like you don't want to disappoint that person, but it's real. It's not to say to diss anybody else because we'll dance with anybody, but yeah, people get disappointed because they're only looking at it from their point of view,
Right.
that they want to dance, and we get that because we came in town, to for
To,
people to see us dance,
right, right.
to dance with people, but um, it's like we're only human. We can only do so
So
much.
yeah, people start to put you on a pedestal, right?
Yeah,
And
it's like,
you become more than people. You guys are kind of like little I don't say like little superstars in a way, right?
it's weird because
it's not superstar money. I'll tell you that.
it's it's in such a niche market that yeah, people could be popular in this and then the outside world, but
Right, you walk outside and you just
and
Alex and Desiree.
that's enough for these other dancers. I'm like, I see so many divas, devos too, and I'm like, who? I really just don't know who you think you are, because walk outside, go to the laundromat, don't nobody know you.
Right.
It's really humbling too. But
Now I understand
yeah, but it is cool. It is cool. So that was kind of like the negative part, but it's
that.
really amazing that we get to travel and to dance for a living, like, and that we have this platform to be able to talk to you and talk to other people and share our passions and our joys. I mean, it's really a privilege because I mean, there's nothing else that I would be doing this well. I can't sit behind no desk 9 to 5. That is just not me. And I think we're both really grateful.
Oh man, that's
And
awesome. Yes, I'll be honest with you. A lot of people wish they were living your life. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. But I want to ask you like just maybe two more questions. All right. Um, for someone who is a beginner, in anything really, and they feel like they're not getting better at something. If they feel like they're stuck in a beginner's rut, what advice could you give them?
I would suggest, okay, if you're a beginner and
Assuming they're taking classes.
yeah,
Yeah, sure, they should be. Beginners should be taking classes, so yes.
okay, so if you're taking classes, you feel like you're in a rut. I feel like you cross train. Go watch some videos, and then maybe take another type of class, or take another type of salsa class, or with a different instructor. So maybe, because sometimes people need to hear things different ways or see things, or like maybe their teacher's been saying things for, like do this, move more, but they're not really explaining what move more is, or what visually they're seeing that they think is the problem. So I think then they need to take classes with other people. I think that's my suggestion.
I say to go through a couple of checkpoints because for me, I relate getting better at dancing to also like my journey with like weight loss. I sometimes have to go through all of the checkpoints. Am I doing everything that I need to be doing? Why am I at a plateau? So is the instructor that I have the best instructor? In that case, like Desiree said, maybe they might need to cross train. But also when they take lessons, how often are they practicing those moves?
Absolutely.
How often are they social dancing?
Absolutely.
Are they, for example, the type of dancer that, you know, in one out ear and out the other? Because I found myself in a plateau when I first started dancing, and then I realized that I wasn't social dancing enough. I was only going out once, maybe every 2 to 3 weeks, and when I went from social dancing from once, you know, every 3 weeks to 4 or 5 days a week, my skill set skyrocketed within a matter of 6 months. So I think going through all of
find where the weight shifts are. You can find where those connection points are that you're supposed to push, and you can really be settled in the movement. So maybe you're moving too fast.
Okay. Okay, I understand that. I want to ask you, I guess, just one more question real quick, and I want you both to answer this. Can you give me one tip that can make anyone a better dancer immediately?
I don't know about immediately. See, that's the problem right there. It's like nothing is instant. For me,
Okay.
it takes time. I think
Okay.
it takes time. I think you have to understand that it takes time so that, I mean, I would be
And
surprised.
practicing the right way.
And yeah, I would be surprised. There's very, very few people who have such a natural talent that they can immediately skyrocket to be one of the best. I consider myself one of the people who naturally kind of had the groove and the flavor, but I didn't. I mean, I didn't. It wasn't. I wasn't an overnight success. I wasn't someone that learned how to dance, you know, in just a couple of hours. So I think first understanding that it takes time is like the first step. In terms of like tips of how
Okay.
easy, you know, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. I wouldn't really be concerned with who's learning faster, who's picking. I think you have to stay in your lane and really focus on getting your dancing better by putting in the work.
But then also, just I think maybe one thing is just to know anything, but just to stay as humble as you can, and to take and to take information from everywhere. Because sometimes when you go into something and you aren't in a place to accept information, that's gonna hold you back, right?
So you're always being a student.
And I think that just yeah, to always be taking classes, to always be social, and always being a student, yeah, that's gonna help you tremendously.
Yeah.
Because the thing is with those basics, man, those basics are so important that you have to get to the point where you can do them without thinking about
Right,
it.
right.
It's so second nature. Once you get to that point where the basics for you are so second nature, that's when then you can start to play around and you can start to like really be comfortable with investigating on your own.
Right, right.
But yeah.
I think we're surrounded with so much talent that better. I'm not getting called for events. I'm not, you know, doing better shows. Well, look, there. I always feel like, you know, if you're the best amongst your peers, then you got to change your group. Because I always look at my
Right.
colleagues and see what they're doing in terms of like, okay, you know what, this has helped them, you know, mature in their dancing. This has allowed them to evolve, and you that's what you want. In order to stay relevant, you have to keep evolving. So I think that learning from, you know, the people who inspire you to become, maybe you know, they can inspire you to work harder, to train harder, to become more creative, to explore different movements, different genres, different techniques and tools for teaching. So all of those things I think come to play.
And nothing is new, right? So things kind of in homework. Your homework. If you have YouTube, restart, right?
Right,
Research
right,
just like
right.
the latest Daniel and Desiree. But what about the people like way, you know, why aren't you looking at like other types of dance? If you're a salsa dancer, why aren't you? How come you don't even know who the Nicholas brothers are? Who did something? They're not salsa, but the flow is different and it's inspirational. Like just looking at different things, because salsa is a mix of things, and now
Yeah.
bachata is a fusion of things as well. What that's going back to I was saying in the beginning, is that what we do is not purely traditional either, you know. But what is,
Okay.
there's
Right.
very
Right.
few
Right.
things, because everything in life evolves. So yeah.
I understand that. I definitely understand that. I wanna yeah, I wanna thank you both, for taking time out here to talk to me.
Of course.
Thank you for having us.
Of course, of course. I really do. I apologize about the lag and everything. I want to ask you this real quick. Tell me, what are some of your upcoming events? What do you have going on?
So we actually have auditions for our new semi-pro team, completely brand new team for more intermediate advanced dancers to take their skill sets to the next level. That's going to be at 8 o'clock tomorrow at Ripley Friday. Yeah. So tomorrow at 8 p.m. we
So
have
hold on.
auditions.
Yeah. So hold on.
If
Friday, August 9th, right? 2019.
Yes. It's gonna be at 8 p.m. Check your phone real quick. Is it
8 p.m. Simple Studios.
At Simple Studios, and also we have just a lot of new projects coming up, new choreographies. We just had our Alex and Desiree 4-year anniversary this past weekend, so we just did a collaboration with world-renowned stars Gabby and Steffi, and we have
Yeah.
some new things coming up this year, new choreographies, and also we have our worldwide teams that we're still taking messages and requests. Yeah, I think if people want to know more about any of the things that we got coming up, so people can private message us
or email us at
email us at alexanddesiree@gmail.com.
I'll say yeah. I say that
And
kind
don't
of
forget to like our Facebook page,
yeah.
Alex and Desiree.
I was gonna say yeah. I was gonna say that kind of leads me to the next question. How can people reach out to you? So yeah, I know you have a website, Alex and Desiree.
Um,
Your Instagram. What's your Instagram handles real quick?
everything is Alex and Desiree. Instagram at Alex and Desiree, email Alex and Desiree at Gmail, and website alexanddesiree.com.
Hey, perfect. Like I said, I really want to thank you all so much for taking time out your day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, I
Take care.
really, of course, I really enjoyed this. Y'all take care as well.
Bye-bye.
Yes.
That's all it is. Hey everyone, if you made it this far all to the end of the video, I want to thank you so much. My overall goal with making these interviews and these episodes is to give a voice to dancers, to give them a platform to speak their story. So if this is of value to anyone, then that means the world to me. My overall goal is to give value to the dance community. So if you find no value in this, then I urge you to please let me know where I can improve on. I truly want to, just give value and content to the dance community. So please let me know how I can improve, where I'm messing up, because to be 100% honest with you, I'm learning along the way as I do this. I truly am. So to be able to interact with the dance community, it means the world to me, because it gives me feedback and it lets me know what I'm doing right, where I can improve upon, what I'm doing wrong, which I feel like might maybe more important. So please, if you all could comment and just let me know what you think, it means the world to me, because that feedback just helps me improve. So please comment as well. Please like and subscribe. That means a lot as well. But I want to say thank you so much for just watching this, because it means the world to me. I want to take you on this journey of the Two Left Feet podcast. I'm very excited for it. So once again, thank you so much.